Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive in different aspects of cinema, directors, genres, actors, or franchises. It doesn't matter, because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Becky.
And this month we are doing November, where every episode this month is brought to us by a guest. And this week we have...
Yo.
We have Yo coming in. So why don't you introduce yourself, Mr. Yo?
Hi, I'm Dyllan.
Glad to have you back. It's been a while.
I think like February-ish.
Well, we did. Well, that's when we recorded our stuff for April, the Justice League.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's been a lot sooner than that then.
Yeah. But this week we're talking about a movie you brought to us. We're talking about
Suspiria, the remake.
The 2018 remake of the 1977 cult classic. And Dyllan, you brought us this remake. Why?
It's crazy because I originally tossed you like when you first asked me about this, I was like, I was going through like a list of films that like could work, maybe couldn't.
Out of all of our guests, you took the longest to come up with your list. By the way, you went deep,
and it was a big list too.
Yeah. No. I got indecisive because once I hit 5, I was like, okay, but there's also these and these and these. You know, the list grew after I pressed send.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I was even like on the way here. I was like, you know, I could have threw him like, "I love you, Philip Morris."
I've never seen that movie.
Same.
Jesus,
we would have done it too.
You would have been surprised like I was.
Jeez.
But nah, yeah. So I think for the most part, like the original has always like been like an interest to me. So when I found out that there was a remake, and this was a time where I was just kind of like, oh, what can I watch? What can I watch? So I fucking went and I just like dove straight into it. I actually didn't see a trailer or anything, and I kind of just watched it blind. And yeah, I think it checks a lot of boxes for me. So I was like, why not this one as well?
Okay. I find it interesting you say it checks a lot of boxes for you. Did the original check the same boxes? Or because these two, at least to me, and I assume with Becky, is like a polar opposite of the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatchamacallit?
Whatchamacallit? Strong name. Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, I think like when I'm going into a film, and especially like for like modern horror, I do like for things to feel a little bit more grounded and for it to feel kind of like an experience you kind of like lose yourself in. One thing with the original is that like it kind of like has this like eerie vibe the whole time, but it kind of like loses me a little bit because it focuses so heavily on like the aesthetic. I'm gonna get killed for that.
The aesthetic.
I feel like it focuses so heavy on like the aesthetic and like the vibe of the film, and that like the suspending of like the disbelief part of it. I kind of checked out at one point, and I realized I was still watching a movie, whereas like the like remake, I'm there the whole time, which I think is important.
Okay, that's interesting, because we actually did the original Suspiria on the podcast. It is one of our dead episodes.
It is in the graveyard.
It's in the graveyard. Recorded the whole thing. We're like, we can't release this. Let's put this away.
That was you. I was fighting.
Yeah.
What made you guys be like, no?
So it comes down to, it's the key difference between the original and this one is also why this one's easier to talk about as opposed to the original. The original does not give a fuck about the plot. Doesn't really care about plot, doesn't really care about characters. It's very focused on the filmmaking, like you said, the atmosphere, the tone, the vibe, which in an audio format doesn't lend to discussion of, man, the color blue is so good. How do you like the color blue in this scene? It's so deeply blue.
What about when it turns red?
Oh, when it turns red against the curtains, that's so cool. It doesn't lend to a podcast episode, so we just talked about how cool it looked, and then we realized there's fucking not a whole lot to talk about other than it looks kind of cool. Whereas this one is super plot. I would almost call it plot dense. It's 2.5 hours, and there is relevant character and drama and grounding throughout the entire thing. Now, don't get me wrong, all right? I'm giving it its flowers, but also it does not need to be 2.5 hours long. I think it's longer than it needs to be.
Yeah, I think on the way over here, I was thinking about the film, and I was like, is there a shorter version of this film? Whatchamacallit, not to drag Kevin Smith into this, but
your man, your hero. If for everyone out there who wants to know, Dyllan actually has a tattoo of Kevin Smith's face on his back. Hanging out with Buddy Christ.
And my ass.
That's like the Clerks Kevin Smith is on your back. The ass, fucking Red State Kevin Smith's on your ass.
Yeah, just full face on the left cheek. Some days somebody's gonna like accidentally like pull my shorts down, and they're just gonna get like a whole sight of like Kevin Smith.
So that was unexpected.
I was making a joke. I didn't realize you actually had a tattoo of Kevin Smith on your ass.
But he talked about Joker 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I'm almost certain that there's a shorter version of this film. And that, like, him saying that was interesting. And I kind of found myself saying that about like the Suspiria remake, because I think there could be like a shorter version. I would have to like spend a little bit more time to figure out what exactly do you cut, you know?
Yeah. I mean, on that, I actually accidentally double featured this with another film, the 1981 film Possession. By the way, I finally found a copy of that movie, by the way.
Jesus Christ. What was like the thoughts on Possession? Cuz yeah,
that movie cooks, by the way. Okay, by the way, I kind of love that movie.
I told him he couldn't figure out if he liked the Batman. He couldn't figure out if he liked, was it Megalopolis, Monstropolis, whatever it is.
Movies are goated.
But he's like, Possession. I love that movie. I'm like, how? How do you know that now?
Okay, Possession is a movie that... Quick aside on that one. That movie is fucking insane. Absolutely wild.
1,000.
But it is one of the best acted films I think I've ever seen. Like, it is raw, emotional, surreal, wild. It has deep... grounded emotions and fantastical shit that makes no sense, but it all feels real and like whole. Big fan of that one. But the reason I bring it up is because Possession has like an American cut, and it has like the original cut. The original cut is 2 hours long. It's basically a little bit longer than, or a little bit shorter than this. It's like an hour or 2 hours and like 10 minutes. But the American cut is like 89 minutes long. And I noticed, or looking at it on, like, after I watched the movie, the full one, I was like, what do you cut from this? Oh my god, like, the performances. And I looked on the Wikipedia, and it's like, oh yeah, I guess you could just get this to 90 minutes if you just cut out this whole long fucking plot line here. And I wonder with, like, Suspiria, it's like, you could probably cut out a lot of the world-building stuff, where it's like, almost the whole doctor stuff you can cut out. If you really think about it. You could also probably cut out stuff like what's going on with the hostage negotiations. You can do that. But if you do that, then I think you're going against the idea of the movie, which is, in the original in 1977, the setting didn't fucking matter. Yeah. The fact it was in Germany didn't matter. And this one is almost like, we're going to make it matter so fucking hard.
You need to know your surroundings.
Yeah, and that builds into that atmosphere, that Cold War, like era that is trying to build into, like, because the movie has this whole thematic thing about, like, you know, after the fall of Nazi Germany, these women are, like, now they're re-empowering and all this other stuff, and juxtaposing that with, like, the Berlin fucking Wall, you know, we're going to break through the walls, and, you know, we are now going to be in power, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, I think it's a thematic element to it. So if you can cut it out and make it shorter, but it would lose something. Long tangent, Possession's a good movie. Go watch Possession. Actually, don't watch Possession, everyone. That movie gets weird. The third act is wild.
No, it's wild the whole time. No. Fuck. I actually watched Possession presented by, like, Fangoria magazine.
Oh.
Yeah, it was at USC. So.
Oh, nice. Those are fun.
Yeah, they did a small panel afterwards. It was weird because they talked about how there was, like, all these different, like, plot lines and directions that they started to go in, and then they just never touched again. So I was like, I was the whole time I was isn't there like a small like hint that Sam Neill's gonna like have sex with like the dude?
Yeah, that's in there too.
And it just never like comes back at all. It was just like, so what direction are we going? And that movie is like, you said it right. I think the only way to describe possession is insane.
Yes. And I find it interesting because that movie has more in common with the 2018 Suspiria than the 1977 Suspiria has with the 2018 Suspiria.
How so?
Well, because this one is very involved in like setting and things like that, and in like the possession, it literally takes place against like the Berlin Wall. Like you see the Berlin Wall throughout the movie. In the dance hall in this one, you look out the windows, there's the Berlin Wall. Yeah. And it's very encompassing in like the setting. Like in possession, it's like they have this paranoia. There's this thing just on the other side of the other side of the wall. The other side of her lies is this demon thing in her apartment. The other side of this, and in this one, it's also like the other side of the wall of this witch's coven is the reality of what they're doing, which is witchcraft and all this other stuff. I just find it aesthetically very similar, as opposed to the original, which is aesthetically the polar opposite of it. But I talk a lot. I might.
You
go
love
on
to
tangents.
do that.
I do that a lot, but I want to know something. Becky, what did you think of Suspiria?
I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of the original one. You were the one that was like, it's beautiful, it's this. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty, but I was just kind of not engaged with the story too much.
Because there wasn't one.
There wasn't one. So I was just like, okay, all right. And then we get to this one, and then most of the time I was just like, what the fuck? What is happening? But yeah, it was all right for me.
You were mad they started explaining the story?
A little bit. I'm like, I want you to let me piece things together.
What about when they started poking the guy's penis with a meat hook?
I laugh every time when I see that.
I texted him and I'm like, "What the fuck are we watching?"
She literally texted me that. Like I'm like almost done with. I'm like 5-10 minutes ahead of her or whatever, and I'm just like, "Oh man, I'm going to get a sandwich." And she texted me and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" I'm like, "Did you get to the dick part?" She's like, "Yes. How did you know?" Yeah, I just passed that about 10 minutes ago, honey. But yeah. So, but Dyllan, your defense of the dick scene.
The defense of the dick scene? Great. Needed.
Great. Needed.
Super necessary.
All right. But
so random.
I don't know if it's random.
Hey, man. in artful films like this, you need random.
All right. Well, let's get into the movie, I guess, because that again, key point of this is it's a very plot dense film. So if we miss things, apologies. We'll try our best. But I do like how it opens, because it opens with like very relevant to the location, the setting, the time, and everything. 1977, we're in West Germany, and there's these riots going on. People are calling for the freedom of, I think it's some hostages or what have you. Big scene. Chloe Grace Moretz is there running through like smoke and like people running around to get to her therapist's office. Her therapist, played by Tilda Swinton, who is playing a guy in this scene.
Yep.
Yep. Tilda Swinton, one of the greatest actors of any generation, can play anybody if she wants. She's played Bob Dylan before.
Has she?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Tilda Swinton. Dyllan, I'm just saying, Tilda Swinton could play you in a movie. She could play me in the same movie, and I wouldn't even notice. Wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
I would hope she doesn't play me.
Why not? Dyllan, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. We look so much alike, it'd be fine.
The exact twins.
Yes.
Exact twins.
I get confused sometimes. I'm like, wait, Dean, where? I don't know. I just give up.
I walked into the comic shop and I was like, "Oh, I'm already in there."
People think I'm joking about this. People confuse us like all the time. It's like really weird.
I know. Oh God.
But the opening of the movie, Chloe Grace Moretz going in to see Dr. Tilda Swinton, and basically going through like they're all witches and I'm being watched all the time and this and that. How do you think of the opening of the movie? Because it's kind of the whole thing where she's not our main character. It's almost setting up what we're gonna, like, the vibe, right?
I know it's really interesting because, like, I feel like a lot of people that I've heard talk about the film actually point this out as something that's like unnecessary or can get cut,
Mm-hmm.
but I actually think it like perfectly alley-oops like the rest of the film, and it also adds importance to why the therapist is continuously coming back and shit, because at that point, yeah, I liked how the film, oh fuck,
Dyllan started slapping his mic around.
no, but I like how it kind of like helps alley-oop like the eeriness of like this film, and kind of like gets you, it kind of like helps ease you into the world through a character like you don't necessarily see the rest of the time. So I thought that was like really dope.
I mean, it goes into like the 5-act structure where your opening scene has almost nothing to do with your main characters and your plot, but it has everything to do with just lay the setting, let everyone know like the tone you're going for and the vibe. And the tone of this is like paranoia. Mm-hmm. Like she's like, they're watching us, and she starts like anything that has an eye in the room, she starts like putting it down and hiding it. And it's like paranoia is a key thing in here, and witches, and they're witches, guys. Did you know that they're witches, by the way? I like how this movie just doesn't even like try to play the, are they witches? Are they just like this very intense dance group? We find out they're witches in the first 10 minutes of the fucking movie. They start doing like weird spellcraft and shit.
As you do.
As you do. But yeah. But because after that, we actually do get like the opening title sequence. We get like this woman dying in the farm. The woman we find out later is Susie's mother, played by Dakota Johnson. And Dakota Johnson, Susie, shows up in Berlin. She's going to the dance studio. She's trying to audition, and she gets her audition, right? I find it so weird for people to dance without music. It just looks like she's fucking possessed. It's weird.
Goes hand in hand with possession that you were just watching.
That, oddly enough, she's got a point. But yeah, so we actually get to meet Susie Bannion, played by Dakota Johnson. You like Dakota Johnson? You're a fan?
I loved her in this. I thought,
not Madame Web.
I didn't see that.
50 Shades of Grey. Her other great works.
I didn't see 50 Shades of Grey.
Those 2 episodes of The Office that she was in the final season.
2 episodes of The Office in the final season?
She did all this?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Jesus Christ.
Dyllan, fake fan over here.
I said I loved her in this. I thought, like, performance-wise.
He's wearing his Dakota Johnson shirt right now.
Hell yeah.
Has a face tattooed right here.
Over his heart.
I think performance-wise, she did the, like, I don't know. I kind of like think about like every scene. I find myself looking at like her eyes because I feel like that's where like the story of the character is, because you see like how in she wants to be, or how involved of like the whole thing. She like I don't know. It's what's the word I'm looking for?
Like she has an intensity in her eyes? Or
I feel like it's almost like she's in a trance the whole time. Or she's like giving into like the trance. Like you can almost like watch the film kind of like unfold, just kind of like following her eyes.
It's interesting you say that. Like her eyes are very like key to the character. I remember Becky was telling me something about Dakota Johnson staring at the camera.
It freaked me out.
Was it just a thing where how it was shot? Because there are some shots where she's staring almost down the barrel of the camera as she's delivering lines, or it's shot in like, the movie is shot in a very like particular way. There's a lot of like cutting, and there's a lot of like very dramatic angles going on. But I'm wondering, was that a thing that was like irking you about it? Because I know there were some things that were just kind of weird.
It wasn't irking me, but it was freaking me out, and I think that goes with her character, because she wants to be involved in this, and she's letting it all in, and it's just it feels like she's trying to kind of like pull you into with just her eye contact and how intense her eyes are.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly put, to be honest with you.
It's just like join us, kind of like, and I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want this.
Yeah, there's kind of like you kind of see her go like at no point, at least for me, like watching, did I ever feel like she was like naively going like giving herself to the coven, I felt like there was something more the whole time, and you can kind of just see that like the character wasn't just kind of like I guess like a weird damsel just kind of like falling victim to the situation. There was almost like there was something more that she wanted as well, and I thought that was like really cool.
I thought it was interesting that throughout the movie, as Sarah, played by Mia Goth, is telling her, like, there's something wrong here, and she's like, it's fine. I thought it was like, oh, she wants it. It's like you join a cult and you're just like, I am bought in. Send me the Kool-Aid. I'm all in on this. Like, I'm happy to be here. But when you get to the end, you get the twist. It's like, oh, okay. She was playing fucking 3D chess this whole time. Okay, cool.
Well, I mean, especially with the other dancers, when she finally has the nightmare and they're like, oh, it took me like 3 weeks to finally be able to sleep, or I have to take Valium every night to knock me out. And she's like, nah, I've been good this whole time up until right now. And it's just like, damn, like there's some shit going on here, lady.
Yeah, because the movie does have that thing where we are following Susie Bannion throughout it. It's I wouldn't even say we're following her throughout it. We're almost following the therapist more than her. Like, I think the therapist has far more of an arc in this as opposed to Susie, but I digress, because right after she gets accepted into this very, very prestigious music academy, that's when Susie, like, the coven starts having this weird psychic vote about Markos versus Madame Blanc and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, so they are witches. They're speaking with their minds with each other. All right, cool movie. And then Susie meets Sarah, played by Mia Goth. And is this Mia Goth's first major film?
That I don't know. What's interesting about like Mia Goth is she's just been popping up in like loads and loads and loads and loads of shit. Like I realized that like she's kind of like Lakeith Stanfield, where like you just look back and like they were working the entire time. They just hadn't popped.
Yeah, because I mean, I would say she popped with like, what is it, X and Pearl same year, and then it's like, okay, now she's going to be in Infinity Pool, and she's going to be in this, and she's going to be in this, and they're going to be in this. Like, I feel like X was her pop movie. And I think this is still like early for her, I would assume, but I digress. Mia Goth is Sarah in the movie. She's playing like the best friend who's been there a long time, she's the one who's more naive that there's witchcraft going on than even like Susie is. I think Susie keys in that, they're witches, and I'm totally cool with that. And I don't know if Sarah realizes how like weird everything is.
Sarah's just there to dance.
She's just there to dance.
What's funny is you actually like, I think there's a version of this film where she's actually the main character, because you could do a whole story about how like she's kind of like losing her like, oh shit, I did it again. Where she's kind of like losing her like sanity over like the whole thing, because she's the only one who's like processing any of this. She's processing like I believe I think it's Chloe's character was Patricia.
Yes.
I think she's processing Patricia and Olga's disappearance. Like she's the only one who's like, where the fuck is everyone?
You're like,
people just keep disappearing left and right, and they're like, it's cool, we're good.
That's the thing, right? Because Sarah is almost like fucking Susie's character from 77.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because the OG version of this, where she's played by God, I'm gonna forget the actress's name that played Susie in the original one. Which sucks because she's great.
I will find it somewhere.
But the original
Jessica Harper.
Thank you, Jessica Harper. She's great. She's in Phantom of the Paradise, wonderful actress. But Jessica Harper, when she plays it, is like, I don't really know what's going on here. I'm kind of reserved before I buy into anything, and I'm really like, what's going on here? Everyone's so weird. And in Dakota Johnson's portrayal, it's like, yeah, it's weird. Fuck it. I'm here to dance. I'm here to break it the fuck down, all right? Buy it in. I don't care if they're covens. And then Sarah is more like the fucking Jessica Harper's portrayal. It's very interesting how how Suspiria almost looks at the original and says, how can we go farther the other way with this and still make it the same movie? Because the plots of both of them or the stories of the two of them are pretty much the same. They hit all the same beats. It's just they arrive there in far different ways, and the characters are so different, which is weird. But yeah, I digress. I ramble for a little bit.
I think for a remake, that's honestly one of the more like beautiful things that you can do.
Mhm.
I was telling you guys earlier that with how Tilda Swinton, I believe, called it more of a cover than a remake. But when you look at like covers are kind of like, you know, the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes more sense that it is a remake in a pure example of like what a remake's potential can be, you know?
Because, I mean, we can get into the whole argument of horror movie remakes, and
Yeah.
there's a lot more misguided ones. I won't say bad, but misguided ones than there are out-and-out good or great ones. Like, I think a good remake of, or a good horror remake is, like, Evil Dead. Because I think that one is like, oh, it looked at the original, was like, okay, here's the world that's going to play in, here are the basic characters, but we want to do something totally different, go in places the original wouldn't go, and things like that. And I think that's why that one's successful, as opposed to something like Dylan's favorite, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which is almost angrily trying to remake that movie.
Don't put that evil on me.
Don't put that evil on you?
No. You know, it's funny when you said that, because when you were talking about like remakes, like like the Evil Dead, like the comparisons between like the remake and the original, I instantly started thinking about like, oh, what else are some other cool ones? And I thought about how the Thing from Another World
into The Thing.
Yeah, how The Thing takes a lot from the Thing from Another World and just fucking does its own direction, and then you just fucked all my imagery up.
Yeah. I just like ruining your day, Dylan, you know?
Oh my god.
But it is kind of like The Thing, right? Because the horror remake craze was huge in Hollywood for a long time.
We have it right now, Nosferatu. It's coming out in a few weeks.
It's true. It's true.
I would argue Nosferatu's like one of those films that's, I think, overdue for a remake, but also at the same time, it's kind of like, it's also one of those films that I think could go another like maybe 50 years without like the generation even like seeing.
Well, that's the thing. Like, what is it? The original is like 22. The remake that Herzog did was like 70 something. So it's been like 50 years since the last one. We're due. That should be the rule. Like, you have to wait 50 years before you can remake anything.
They're trying with, I think, American Psycho is getting ready to get one.
Oh God.
Yeah. Heard about that.
It's one of those things where it's like the original, like American Psycho by Mary Harron, I believe is the director, is the only way you can adapt that. But I read the whole book. That is the only way you can adapt that book and make it not a straight sadomasochistic porno. By the way. Like, also, there will never be anyone who will be better at Patrick Bateman than Christian Bale. That's just not gonna fucking happen. I'm sorry, my guys.
I guess we're getting ready to find out, aren't we?
we getting ready to find the fuck out. You correct. But back to Suspiria, and, you know, we meet Sarah and all that stuff, but we get to the first audition, and you were talking about when Olga disappears. We meet Olga. She's like, fuck this, I'm out. She leaves, and then...
The most logical response in this movie.
And I guess Madame Blanc casts a little spell on Susie's hands and feet and tell her to dance. And this is where we see like how the magic actually works. Like the magic is like this physical movement to this and that, and how that is the energy they're utilizing. And they use that energy to murder the fuck out of Olga. She gets contorted and twisted and beaten up, and
no CGI.
Yeah, no CGI.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the actress was a contortionist, a ballerina, and she has, I think what they called was hyper flexibility or something like that. Like her tendons are actually longer so she can flex in weird ways. And with all the prosthetics on her and everything, it is wildly impressive. Like, wildly impressive scene. How it cuts back and forth between Susie dancing and Olga contorting, and how grotesque and awful it is. And also, like...
It scared me.
It's scary, yeah.
I actually thought it's crazy because, like, the scene is so fluid. I actually was like, damn, this is pretty beautiful the whole time. I was watching it. And
Your favorite movie is Train Spotting, all right? It's fine.
No, it's Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for
Duh.
a Dream.
Train Spotting is in the top 5 for sure, though.
Okay.
You always forget Requiem.
I always forget Requiem, you know.
Fake friend.
How could I forget Jennifer Connelly?
But yeah, how the scene, like, how we like cut back and forth like so fluidly, and like we move between like the dance sequences, and how in awe they are of her while she's like moving the movements, and just cut to like every time like she does something, Olga's just like bending and breaking. I was like, this is fucked up, but really, really, it's just done really well.
It is a masterful piece of filmmaking and editing. I will not argue with it is not a masterful piece of like work done here. It's the thing where it's also getting into the idea that, man, dancing can be beautiful and expressionistic and like emotionally fulfilling until you're not in control of how your body's moving. That's almost the thing where it's like the power, it almost goes into the other thing. Like the power of this scene is like, what is it? Susie's on the top floor and Olga's on the bottom floor or whatever. And that she's on top, and how she moves her body forces Olga to move her body the same way. And it's like, that has to be a thematic thing, right? Like I can't just be, putting my tinfoil hat on here. There has to be something there. But it is just a really cool scene. But boo. Like this scene, hate this scene. You were a ballerina before. You know how this works.
Yeah, for like a month. But no, nothing ever like that happened in those ballet classes. But no, it scared the crap out of me. And I think I like that in a horror movie, because we're so, at least I am, desensitized to a lot of what we see now, because it's just, we have a lot out there. I wasn't expecting this, and I was like, damn, this is scary. Just seeing, her basically tear this other girl apart and have no idea that she's doing it. And that the other girl is trying to get out of there, and once you're in, you're in.
The mirror room, it's a cool set.
It's a cool set, but it's like, yeah, I would not want to be there.
But Olga dies, and this really keys into the fact that like Tilda Swinton's Madame Blanc is like really invested in, like, I think Susie, she has the power. She is the greatest dancer I've ever seen. She's the chosen one. It's a chosen one narrative, she's the chosen one. But we also find out a little bit after this that this is a part of the movie that I think is weird, because I don't feel it's very explored, is we find out Susie was a Mennonite and she left the faith to pursue dancing. And why is it relevant that she was Amish? Dylan's thinking. He's trying to work that out.
Me.
I got you on that one? All right.
To be honest, this probably is something that like we didn't necessarily need, but also like it's cool backstory for Susie. I think maybe there is a theme of like sexual repression maybe in there.
No, I think that's definitely in there, especially when we get to the dream sequence and mom catches her daughter fooling around in the thing and hits her hand with the iron.
Yeah.
Sexual repression is all over this movie.
So that maybe that plays like a big ass part to it.
I don't know about that. The Amish have like 14 kids apiece, man. I mean, they're anything if not they're laying it down.
Jesus.
Exactly. Jesus said, go and, fornicate. It's right. It's in the Bible. Read your Bibles. But yeah, so we find that out about her. And I think that's an interesting thing, is just we have a lot more backstory to Susie than we ever did in the original. And it's interesting that it's like, it is playing into like, sexual repression and things like that. And also the idea that the only way she could pursue her dream was to leave her faith from like Ohio and all this other stuff. And it's just interesting that is so pushed to the forefront, where in the original I don't think we knew fucking where Susie came from in the original.
She was just there. She just appeared. I'm here. I'm ready to dance.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm wondering if like, did we need so much backstory for the character for it?
No, I do.
No.
I do think that there are things that you can kind of cut out. If there were points where I did kind of like get pulled out a little bit, it might have been going into like Susie's background, because at the same time, like, think about like not really going into like her past, it just makes the character seem way more mysterious. But
Mm-hmm.
it might be directly why they did it, so it doesn't make it so obvious like the ending.
Yeah.
Because the ending twist probably wouldn't be as surprising if we just knew nothing about her, if she appeared from the ether kind of thing.
But she's this Amish girl, and she just wants to dance, and it's like, oh,
she just wants to lay it down.
She's in Europe, wow, look at her go, and then things happen.
Like, what happens next is when Susie and Sarah start looking around for what happened to Patricia, because Sarah and Patricia were friends. What happened to Olga? Because Olga gets murderized and just disappears from the face of the earth, and the cops are investigating. And no, officers, come into this back room. We will show you things. And this is where we get the penis scene, which, laugh out loud funny.
We were shown things.
So was Susie.
Yeah.
She's like, we're looking for evidence. I'm gonna go in this room. What's in this room? She's like, oh my God.
That right there. Okay. So Sarah's looking in the filing cabinet. She's like, I can't find Olga or Patricia's file. They're just gone. I'll keep looking. Susie, go into the other room. Like, look in there. And Susie walks in. There's these the three witches or whatever are just howling, laughing. They're having a grand old time. You see the two like police officers there, and they're just in a trance. They're just standing there like Frankenstein. And then one of them has their pants down and their dicks out, and they're just like, "Hey, look at this, and they're just like poking it with a little meat hook. They're like, "Hey, look at it." And Susie's like, "Oh, well, that's cool." She's like smiling, having a good time, and I'm like, that keys me in.
Mm-hmm.
This girl's fucking kinky. Keys me in.
That girl ain't right. No, they're not even kinky though. That girl ain't right. There's something wrong with her. And then she goes back into the other room with Sarah and doesn't even tell her. She's just like giggling in the corner. It's like, you tell your girlfriend, you're not gonna believe what's going on in this room. You got to go see it for yourself.
I wonder if they were trying to kind of more paint her as like a little bit more innocent on purpose, like overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, to me, like the whole time, like I kind of felt like there was something more, and maybe like trying to get her to seem so like innocent and like overselling the Amish thing, like maybe that was to kind of like purposely derail you. But I don't think it does it too well, to be honest.
I mean, on the note of her trying to like come off as innocent, I mean, they do have that conversation after the first dance or whatever where Tilda Swinton's like, so how did you feel inside when you did it? And Susie's like, it felt like what it must be like to fuck. And she's like, a man? No. An animal.
I was actually just getting ready to ask you guys about that. Because that was just like in my head. I was like,
did Susie really leave the farm, or was she asked to leave the farm?
Oh, God. So the fact that... that's a question right there. That's a question.
They don't touch on that either, on whether or not, like, what exactly she meant about an animal. It's just an animal, and then next thing you know, they just go off.
Whoosh. But yeah, like, the whole sexual thing is like, look, we can say a lot of things about Susie, but she DTF, all right? I think she DTF.
Anything, anytime, anywhere.
Anytime. Sarah, she's like, I had a nightmare. And Sarah's like, oh, don't worry. Let me lay in bed with you. It'll be okay, friend. And she's like, oh, I haven't had anyone lay in bed with me except my sisters in a long time. And I'm like, this is about to get really weird. Oh, God.
Susie was dragged off the farm. Susie didn't have absolute menace.
They were like, Susie, we caught you rubbing a horse cock one too many times. Let's get you off. You're heading to Berlin.
I'm drinking water. You're trying to kill me?
But yeah, so, horse cocks aside, they're finally done with this, and we go into the... God, I'm trying to look at my notes here. Sorry, the horse cock stuff just threw me through a loop here. Oh, we get the second rehearsal. This is where Susie does the dance and it awakens Mother Markos. We like to see the withered, decrepit hand and all this stuff, and everyone starts like, yo, Susie's doing some weird shit, looking around. It gets more mystical and fanciful and things like that. We have this is another scene that I really like, because right after that we have the witches at the Paris bar, and they're all laughing and having a good time, but they're having this psychic conversation amongst themselves as people are watching. And as they're laughing and having a good time, this conversation is uber serious. They're like, we need to do something about Susie. Okay, she's more powerful than we can imagine. We need to have this ritual come up. We need to sacrifice her and all this other stuff. And I love that parallel between what's actually going on versus what we're seeing. What we're hearing is both a thing that's going on, and I like how the students are spying on them at the bar.
Well, they have to keep the facade going.
Yeah, it's a really interesting like filmmaking choice here. Yeah.
One of the things I like is like seeing like Tilda Swinton's character go from like being like impressed to being like really, really like afraid for Susie. I think that's one thing that like I really, really liked about her performance, because you can just see like the switch, and like every scene in between them, there's a scene like when they're both at like different ends of the table, and they're just staring across from each other, and I think you can really see like you see like a mentor just become so afraid of like the pupil, or like afraid of what's gonna happen to the pupil.
What's the line in A New Hope? You know, the student has become the master. That's kind of what's going on. Is like, you know, Madame Blanc is like, okay, Susie, like you're good at this, but like you're a little too good at this. Like you slow your roll, all right? I think things are getting a little dangerous. And Susie's like, I don't care. I'm fucking here to ride. Let's go. It's fine. Let's roll with it. It's just interesting, their relationship, because it almost starts evolving from like a mentor to a pupil into almost like a mother-daughter thing, because she becomes like protective at a certain point.
100%. It's like a darker version of I hate that I'm gonna do this, Spider-Man and Iron Man.
I thought you were going to say Spider-Man and Uncle Ben. She's like, Susie, with great witchcraft comes great responsibility. And then she bites the dust.
Oh, damn.
What, Dyllan, I mean, it's a great analogy. I mean, the peak of cinema is the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, Scorsese would love that, 100%.
Well, we're going to have him on next week to talk about Superman, so we'll ask him.
Damn.
Okay. By the way, I wish we were at a level where I can get, like, Martin Scorsese on here to talk about, like, Howard the Duck, and see if he could be like, I was friends with George at the time. We were doing a lot of blow, okay? Like, it just happens, okay? I was the one who said, you know, duck tits. That was me. I admit it. It's fine. Yeah.
To be honest, I think Scorsese might just be eternal at this point. So you got time. I think he's just, because he doesn't age like that visibly, to be honest. He just seems so full of spunk.
His enthusiasm has never dipped in his entire life. For cinema, that has never dipped, and I think that's kept him pretty sharp, honestly.
Yeah, how he's been able to like just continuously develop at the same time. It's like his mind's like also just like super fucking active. So like, I don't think that dude's going anywhere for a while. You know, hopefully not.
Him and Clint Eastwood are going to be, you know, directing, and, you know, Clint Eastwood will be like 110, and Scorsese will just about hit 100. So it'll be fine. You know, they'll be making movies.
I don't know. Jesus Christ. I don't know what is fueling Clint Eastwood.
Purely hate.
Yeah.
If just people hating Clint Eastwood, and he's going to be like, I'm going to make another one. Just because you don't like me, I'm going to win a fucking Oscar too. God damn, I love being old. Yeah. But speaking of people going away, we have the piano player at the dinner table just stabbing the fuck out of her own neck, and everyone's like, did no one stop her? She was too fast for us. Yeah.
I mean, after they ignore her all the time.
Yeah, I don't know the deal with the piano player, like the one with the big glasses.
She was kind of in the corner. There are these things. There's supposed to be like some type of like theme with like sighing, tears, and something else, I believe.
Okay, over the motif of it. Yeah, there's a lot of tears. There's a lot of like and sighing and things like that. I'm curious about that when it's talk about like in the Shakespearean context versus like, you know, the physical expression of sighing, because what is it in like, sighing or whatever, but in Shakespearean like plays or whatever, when it's like, and the woman doth sigh, that Shakespeare meant, that woman fucking came. That's what that means in like Shakespearean context. Like, so he's become great at sighing a woman. That means he's, you know, banging, right? I'm wondering if that's like the double entendre because of how sexualized this movie is. But yeah, more you learn. Fucking Shakespeare was a dirty motherfucker. There are tit and dick jokes throughout Shakespeare's canon, by the way.
Wasn't a lot to do back then.
Not a lot to do back then. Das Moon, what is it? Doth Moon Das Sigh has come into crescent form. Basically, he can't get it up, so he can't like get the woman to sigh.
Help me out here.
Yes.
During this period, were dudes still were they letting like chicks act?
No, it was mostly dudes were pretending.
It was dudes, so they were just making dick jokes all the time.
Yeah.
Also, there's another layer of like, you can't sigh a woman. He's like, well, I'm not a woman, you know, like, what do you want from me here?
Oh, bye.
Yes, hilarious. Shakespeare, hilarious. But the piano player like kills herself, and I don't know why, because I never keyed in if the piano player was like down with the coven or if that was somebody she hired. Because in the original, it was just somebody they hired to do it, and then they were like, "Fuck y'all, you're not paying me enough for this," and leaves. But in this one, she's just there for a lot of the movie that doesn't say or do anything, just kind of chills in the back, and then suddenly she just, well, I guess this is my my big moment. Just ga, and just fucking kills herself. Man, that pen is very loud. But yeah, I just thought it was weird. Do you think it came out of nowhere? Do you think it was like?
No, you could tell she was having a breakdown. She wasn't happy with what was going on, and she was just like, I better take myself out before they do something to me.
I believe also she might have been feeling the effects because I believe there's I think there's a debate because I wanted to call it a war, but a war is like a little bit more active.
That's what you think. There's a Cold War going on.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Literally outside the doors.
Well,
holy shit, that just made the Berlin Wall way more relevant. There's a Cold War going on outside, and there's a Cold War going on inside the fucking... Dyllan, you're a goddamn genius. Keep going.
I think his tinfoil hat just got bigger. He's looking like a Jiffy Pop over there.
But yeah, I think because there's two sides, and she might have been feeling the effects of the two like conflicting sides. I believe it's between the witch that's below and Tilda Swinton's, I believe.
Yeah, the witch that below is Mother Markos, and the witch that's Tilda Swinton's playing is Madame Blanc. Well, she plays both of them. Whatever. So it's Blanc versus Markos.
She plays the old one too?
Yes, she does.
Jesus Christ.
To reiterate a point, Tilda Swinton could play anyone at any time. I could be Tilda Swinton right now. You wouldn't even know.
That's what I tell you, Dyllan. I'm like, I don't think Dean's here.
She killed herself.
Yeah. Dude, layers on this shit, my guy. Layers.
Why? Why would you? I don't get why go. I guess she gets paid more, so fuck it.
No, she was just like, fucking challenge accepted. They're like, we have another actress. Yeah, you did. Now you just need me.
She goes, I'll play the entire cast if I need to be.
I would be so honest, low key, with some CGI and some double work. Could we get Tilda Swinton to play everyone in this movie? Could we get Tilda Swinton to play Susie, to play Sarah, to play Patricia, and just see how that would work out? Would it be a better movie?
No.
It would be a more insane movie.
It's funny because I think she did a panel for this film, and they were trying to ask her about her playing the old man, and she pulled out a letter. And she was saying that it's a whole different actor. And she was like, this is what it reads. As if it was from a whole other actor.
She just likes trolling people.
Yeah.
All right. But we get the piano player dies. Sarah's now trying to convince Susie that she's in grave fucking danger. But Susie's like, nah, it's fine. Everything's cool. What, you've never been to a dance academy before? It's fine. Everything's normal. And then they start showing like the red ribbons, and like they're getting ready to perform Vogue, and they're getting ready to like get to the performance. They're like at the final rehearsal, and while that's going on, Sarah's like, I'm hearing some shit, I'm gonna go investigate. And she finds Patricia. She actually finds Patricia. She finds Olga in like the secret catacombs of the dance hall or whatever. And Chloe Grace Moretz is a weird zombie thing now. Olga is something out of Silent Hill 2, and they're just having a grand old time.
They're dried prunes.
They're dried prunes. That's a great way to put it. And I just like this because, you know, that happens that night. The next day, they're actually like gonna perform. They're getting ready, and Sarah is in the full get-up. Like, she went, got dressed, got the makeup on, and is like, we need to get out of here. And I'm like, you were in your nightgown the other time when you just saw that. So did you run out, say, you know what? That's a morning problem. I'm okay right now. I'll just sleep it off. And then I will go and talk to Susie, who's a few doors down. And then when she wakes, I don't want to be rude and wake her up after I saw 2 zombies chasing me through the catacombs. That'd be rude. I'll wait the next day. And then she just politely is like, Susie, so there's some zombies downstairs. I think we should go. But
it's very Shaun of the Dead of her.
Very Shaun of the Dead. Very polite. I think Sarah's the most polite friend in a horror movie. Like, big fan. But yeah, that's just a logical thing I just realized was she was in a nightie before, and then she got dressed, and then when she goes back down to, like, save Patricia, I don't know. She goes back down when they're about to walk on stage, right? They're about to actually do the performance, the real one. She goes back downstairs, I think, to try and find proof that the witches are evil, I think. So she can sew Susie, so Susie will leave. And Mia Goth breaks her leg. And
that was so gnarly. Like,
very gnarly. I love the effects in the movie. The effects in this movie are like really, really good. But then we actually get to see Volk, the thing they've been getting ready to perform the whole movie, and they're in the red ribbons and they're moving and dancing. What do we think of the dance? Is it a good dance?
I don't know necessarily about good. I know it serves like the film, and I know I used the word trance earlier, but like it definitely like gets you in this like trance state, and like you're there with the characters. What's her name? What's Mia Goth's character's name again? Sarah returns, and like she completes the dance, and like you see how like vacant like her eyes are. I feel like we, the audience, kind of get there with her, and we're like stuck there the whole time. And like it's not that like, it's almost like that we forget that like all this like horrible shit is going on. Like we forget that the 2 girls are like below. At least I did, because I was just so into the dancing.
No, I get you on that one, because watching it, it's almost the thing where the movie, like you said, it is like a trance. Like the bodies are moving, and this red is the most pop the fucking movie has gone to this point. It's so like desaturated. It's a thing where this is like how their bodies are moving, and it's so fast and so sharp, and there's music coming in, and how their bodies are like coming together and making these weird shapes and movements. It's a thing where it's like, that's just fucking impressive. Okay, yeah, no, fuck it, yeah, keep going. Yeah, this is a 10-minute sequence. Wait, it's 10 fucking, holy shit, this is 10 fucking minutes? Okay, yeah, let's keep rolling. Let's vibe.
Holy shit, I didn't even know it was 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot of the fucking movie. Like, no joke.
Damn.
If you count it from when they start dancing to when Sarah finally collapses, it's like 10 solid minutes. So their whole dancing, and they're cutting back and forth, and there's the music, the piece, and everything. It's like 10 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, no, girl, keep spinning. Yeah, this is fucking cool. All right, yeah, cool, awesome. But Becky, you know, thoughts on the dance?
Same as Dyllan. You know, you feel like you're in a trance. The fact that they finally use the color red for the ribbons, it feels like they're pulling the strings, like they're pulling you in. They're, you know, manipulating you, and it's just what's going to happen after the dance.
Yes,
it's like I'm afraid for the music to stop, because it's like what are we going to do now? Are we going to kill everybody in the room? What's going on? And who are all these people?
That's another thing, because I don't think they ever tell you what Volk is supposed to do. Because, it's supposed to transfer, like, Madame Markos into Susie. Well, that's not that. That's what's going to happen later. And even after she collapses and Blanc comes to Susie, Susie's like, did I hurt any of those people? Oh, man, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait, was that, like, you were casting a spell. Like, that's the whole point. There's, like, the runes and stuff on the floor. What would have happened if they completed it? If Susie didn't go off book, what would have happened? Was that their like Armageddon spell? You know, was that what that was? What was going on there?
You know, I don't know, but like I feel like that's like a great like what if that like one of the more like mysteries that the film kind of like creates, I think.
Mm-hmm. It is a mystery, but what is not a mystery is what happens next. So Susie is finally brought all the way in to the coven. They're like, you're in, you're cool. Here's your Dakota ring. Yeah, awesome. They go to the cafe. They're having their psychic thing. That's the scene where Blanc and Susie are at the opposite end of the table staring at each other. That happens right after the Volk performance. And everyone is like, guys, it's time. We're gonna do the ritual. We're gonna put Madame Markos's spirit and mind into Susie's body. And that's going to happen. And they take her into the catacombs, and we finally get to meet Tilda Swinton, again, as Madame Markos, who looks like Butterball from Hellraiser.
Yes, actually, yes, yes. A more, like, extremely wrinkly version, yes.
I mean, Butterball was still, like, pretty tight in the 80s, and he was working out, but he really let himself go. Dylan's making a face right now that just is now thinking of Butterball just having a six-pack, but still, like, round.
I think it's worse. I'm thinking about, like, Butterball and Mother Markos banging.
just laying it out.
Oh, what does that look like?
So, about Hellraiser 9, that's what we're looking at there.
No.
So, well, we get to meet Mother Markos, and this is a part that I do think is interesting because now this gives me an enlightened factor of what the fuck the original was talking about. Because in the original that was their goal, was to revive Mother Markos and put her spirit into Susie or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you just watch the original, sure, we'll go with that. Your guess is as good as mine as what the fuck that movie's goal is. But I like this one because you go into their lair and it's way more spelled out. You now know exactly what's going on. Now I have stakes. Now I have payoff. It's been building to this because the whole movie's been building to this moment. And it looks so fucking cool when everything goes red and fucking the devil himself rolls out and just like, all right.
You rang?
You rang. I'm here to clean up because now we finally understand the twist ending of the movie. Is Mother Markos has been saying she is the incarnation of Suspiriorum?
Yes.
And Susie asks, oh, really? Because that's who I am, bitch. And then just starts ghosting bitches. Just starts killing all of them. So Susie is actually the incarnation of one of the three witches, Suspiriorum, who is come back for, I guess, revenge or to...
I believe it's to cleanse the coven of, like, the corruption. So she specifically kills everybody who voted in favor of Mother Markos.
Oh, to lead the coven, yeah.
Mm.
And I think, okay, the movie up to this point is, like, rather desaturated. It's not really doing the heightened giallo stuff that Argento did in the original, but this scene is like, guys,
as much as possible.
Let's go as hard as we fucking can. This looks so good. Even the weird shutter speed they're doing where, like, the heads are exploding and this and that, and Susie's going around talking to, like, the three sacrifice girls, like, what do you want to die? She kisses them, they fall over, they're dead, and it's like, oh, this is so wild. And then you have the music that's just, like, so, like, somber and sweet and lovely. And I know Becky thought this was a what the fuck was this moment?
What the fuck happened? I mean, just all hell breaks loose and it's like, oh, okay. But I think what was really getting me, Butterball and that little arm that was on her shoulder. That thing was just, I was trying to focus on the scene and I was like, oh, the little hand is,
just stick it out there.
Yeah, I was just like, oh.
That's a thing about Mother Markos. Every time it cuts back to Mother Markos' body or whatever, I notice a new weird thing hanging out of her because there's like a baby's head hanging out of her side, and there's like,
and she's got the 6 shades on.
She do have shades on.
I was like, whose sunglasses were those? Where are you? Where are you going? That I picked up some new glasses today.
Also, why is she naked except for the glasses?
Isn't everybody naked?
But they don't all have glasses or sunglasses.
No, Blanc is wearing the robe, so is Susie. Just, the people, even her assistant still got, like, the 3-piece on. Just all the little people down there are naked. The ones that are dancing.
I think
they still got bottoms on.
Susie's technically naked. I mean, she has, like, the robe on, but I don't think she's wearing anything under it.
No,
Well,
I don't think so.
Okay, but how much of her tits can you see? Because that determines if she's naked or not.
It's a good question.
An expert on tits at the table, Miss Boo. Could you see enough of her tits through this?
You know, you see a lot of boobs in this movie.
There are a lot of boobs in this movie.
It's like left and right, like, oh, another one, another one. Okay.
It's funny that you see so many like tits, but the only thing that really sticks out is the fucking like sickle to like the penis scene.
Yeah.
Because it's just so random.
It's weird. That's another thing. Like, there's a lot of tits in this movie. Are the tits sexualized? Because this is a thing that I'm
don't look
weird.
at me. Like, no,
Yeah,
it's not doing anything for me.
But there was a movie we talked about where it was like,
what movie was that?
where there's a lot of like nudity in it, but it's not.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut is a movie with a lot of nudity in it, but it's not.
There's banging in it.
There's banging. It's not. It's sexual, but it's not titillating. Is that what's going on here? Is it sexualized, but it's not like titillating? Like, you know, you're not watching this and being like, okay, let me pause right here and get the lotion out. Like, no,
so
that's not happening in this movie.
Today.
I got a whole soundboard in front of me. You know, Carl Winslow wasn't my hero as a kid, but
I'm sorry, Dylan, that you have to see this.
But you know, you get my point. Like, the movie is talking about like sexuality, about like, you know, female sexuality, and we see a lot of nudity in it. But it's sexuality, but is it sexual? Is it titillating? Is it meant to be erotic, or is it just meant to be like, this is what we're talking about in almost a philosophical way?
I think it's just meant to be more like what we're talking about. I don't feel like at any point, at least for me, it didn't seem sexual, but I can get how like them playing with the themes of like sexual repression, like making it that way too.
Mm-hmm.
And that really comes to the head of the whole like finale, because everyone's naked. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of fluid. There's a lot of like things going on.
Guts lying on the floor.
Fun fact, I found this out. I guess Mia Goth, who's been in X and Infinity Pool, a lot of like horror movies, a lot of like effects and things like that. She said the only time she ever got sick was when she was in this movie, when she had to hold her own guts in her hands and with like the full prosthetic on, because she was like, it was so weird because she couldn't like looking down at like, that looks like my real guts against, because this prosthetic's really, ooh, Lord. That was the only time she got sick, because it was so like, it looked so good on her that her brain started doing the thing of like, you need to lay down. We are in so much trouble right now. But really good ending climax scene that I thought would be the end of the movie.
And then there's still like 10-ish minutes left after this?
Something like that, 15, 20 minutes. I actually like checked the time because like, oh, well, big climax. All right, cool. I'm about to... Oh, there's like 15 more minutes of the movie. Did you think that was when you watched it the first time, did you see it in theaters or streaming or whatnot?
Hell no, I was sitting at a computer.
The way God intended. So, but when you watched it the first time, did you think that's the end of the movie?
100%. I thought, oh, okay, that's it. And then it kept going, and I was like, all right, let's continue. Let's see where else this is going. But I guess it makes sense because they have to kind of not necessarily clean up, but also kind of like wrap up like the whole thing with the therapist.
Yeah, which for that, because we kind of glossed over the therapist because he weaves in and out of the story, but he has his own plot going on.
Yeah,
because he is searching for what happened to Patricia because, you know, she was his patient, and he's like, I'm concerned what happened, why she disappear. But it's also a thing that develops where his wife went missing like at the beginning of the war, and he's really heartbroken. He's never like stopped looking for her, and he thinks that maybe if he finds Patricia, it will fulfill his own desire to find his wife and things like that. And the coven actually uses the image of his wife, who's played by Jessica Harper, which always great to see her showing up in things, and draws him into the ritual. And it's like, why are you doing this? And it's like, because he got too close. But the ending of it is really Susie going to the doctor and just saying, you know, we feed on fear and shame and suffering, but we don't need yours. Here's what happened to your wife. And just explains what happens to him. And it's this huge emotional, like quiet scene where Tilda Swinton's under all this makeup and this old man makeup. And it's like, God, I'm fucking tearing up right here. Really? Really? She died in the cancer? That's fucked up, my guy. But the ending scene of it, the most emotionally resonant scene of the movie, to me. Thoughts, opinions. Am I just a bitch? Dylan wants to say yes so bad. So bad.
No, I don't think you're a bitch. It definitely.
I want that on mic right now. I'm going to say that.
He's like, not in this regards, but, we'll talk about the others later.
But yeah, the ending.
Nah, I oddly enough, I think it does add a little bit of closure. You seeing like the doctor get kind of like his kind of like, I guess, big emotional moment and coming to terms with like the reality of like what happened, and then you get the release of like because his memory gets wiped like right after.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's that thing where it's like in this one moment you'll know everything, but
remember none of it,
right? And then after that it gets to like the final shot of the movie where it's Germany in modern day, and it just pushes in on the little A and J, the carving for like the in the heart that the doctor did on their cottage home. And it's like, that's the last shot of the movie. That's why I have this question. Is the doctor, the therapist plot in this, like the one that has way less screen time, that's, more singular character, is that actually the main plot of the movie? Does he actually go through more of the character arc than Susie or anyone else does? Is the dance hall just the window dressing to this emotional character arc going on behind the scenes?
You've blown my mind.
Dylan's thinking about it now. He's in the first scene, and he's in the last scene. He's the only character that's in the first and the last scene. He's the only character that goes through a true emotional character arc, because for Susie, she didn't go through a character arc. She was lying the whole time, and it's the twist. Mm. Right? Is he?
Well, she was also meeting her destiny too. So she's on a journey. She's going from point A to
point B,
and with him, he's going from A to Z.
Mm. Is the doctor the real plot of this movie? Is he the real main character? Tilda Swinton plays second fiddle to No Man.
I want to say no.
Okay. Why is it? Because I guess my question is why. I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, for me, it's like, oh, because he has the character arc or what have you. But do you think it's because Susie is the more focused character of it?
Yeah, mm-hmm. I believe because we spend so much time with her, and we kind of see her start to like get in with the coven and start like her own kind of like transformation, and then finally like realize that transformation. Like, I think there's no mistake that like she is the main character, mm-hmm. and we are like in her storyline. But I don't know. It's weird because like,
are you about to go home and watch this again? Double check my math.
No, I was gonna say, can you have the film without the doctor? And I think there's a version of that where you can.
I agree. That would be the original. That would be the 77 one. That would be the movie without the doctor. Which I think even adds on to another thing of, this movie is an hour longer than the 77 version. I'm wondering if the stuff with the doctor would equate to like an hour of the movie. Mm. If it was like, we're just infusing this story within this Suspiria remake because that's a driving narrative force that we want to make, and we need the Suspiria banner to make it, kind of thing. I wonder if that's something that was going on.
No.
It's just weird because I find it interesting that you would want to remake Suspiria of all movies, just because of how, like, the original is just all about like the filmmaking, the aesthetic, as opposed to anything narrative or character driven.
No, I think Luca was obsessed with Suspiria and Dario Argento. So I think he definitely I think he really, really, really wanted to make like this film, but I think he wanted to do his version of it, which is appropriate when you're doing a remake. I think that might be more of it, maybe going off the rails a little bit, but like at the same time, like I do think that like he created, at the end of the day, a really, really interesting, and I think the word is I think he definitely created like a film where people can debate on how good it is. You know, I think he created like it's definitely art.
Yes. That I would agree with that. This is a movie that you would qualify as somebody trying to make an artistic piece as opposed to a commercial product, right?
100%.
Which is interesting because, you know, Luca didn't want to originally direct this movie. He actually wanted he wanted to make it in '08, and he had a director attached to it. Something we've talked about on this podcast before that we have turned on rapidly.
Oh,
Mr. Halloween 2018 himself, David Gordon Green. He was going to be the original director of this in '08, and it like fell through, I believe.
Wait, run that back.
Yeah, you know who David Gordon Green is?
No.
Blumhouse, Halloween 2018.
He did Halloween 2018,
Okay.
Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. He did Exorcist Believer. Those are those most recent films. He also did I believe it's George Washington or something like that from like the earlier years. That was his independent film. He also did Your Royal Highness with like James Franco and those guys. Pineapple Express, I think, is another movie he did. He was going to be the original director of Suspiria in 2008. And then Luca, you know, brought it to him because he's like, I don't want to direct, I want to produce it, you know? But yeah, David Gordon Green was going to be the original director of this.
I'm trying to process what that would even look like. Because
you're like, where does Danny McBride fit into this, you know?
he would have found a spot.
He would have found a spot. He would have been Mother Markos. Okay, actually. But yeah.
I don't know, thinking about that, watching, because Halloween 1 and like Halloween and I believe Halloween Kills is the second one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Those two I actually liked. I didn't mind them as much. They get weird at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween Ends I did not like. I thought it was a little confused. So like
Yeah.
that is like a sign that that the film might have not been like as good in quality.
It would have been a thing where you're like, you kind of want to see what it would look like, but you have no idea if it'd be good or not.
I'm less on 50-50 and more on like I'm on 80% glad that he didn't do it.
No worries. Well, maybe if he made it, this movie would have turned a profit because the box office for this movie. So the budget for this movie is actually kind of insane. It was only $20 million to make the film, which again, kind of an insane number considering what we see in the movie, all the sets, all the actors, everything like that, the production value of it. I would have assumed this would have been like a $40 million movie.
Yeah.
But the take home for this, the box office was a 7.9 million at the box office. Why did this movie not connect with like mainstream audiences? We'll get to the critics in a second, but mainstream audiences didn't connect with. Your thoughts, reasons why? Was it the penis scene?
It's a long film. Like you said, super plot dense. Like there's all these like different themes. Like if you look at like films that do like moderately like well, this is usually the exact opposite of that. Like this, it feels more like a indie film that like didn't necessarily like need a theoretical release, to be honest.
I mean, I get that. It's a movie that I would agree. This is almost like the proto like A24 release kind of thing. This feels like an A24 movie when I was watching it. Very slow, very atmospheric. We're doing weird things.
2018.
Oh well, A24 was already out doing stuff by then.
Because you got to look at like Hereditary, I believe, is 2018.
I wonder if Hereditary ate the box office on this, because they're almost in the same vein, right? In terms of like the crowd they're marketing to, like highbrow, artsy horror fans.
I could see people who like were really into like Hereditary, like looking down on this film.
Really?
Yeah, I could see it. I could see them being like, "Oh, Hereditary's like, this is like true horror," and then kind of like, not Hereditary is a little bit like more grounded, and I would argue it's like way more digestible than the remake of Suspiria. So yeah, I can see them getting upset at how like complex the remake tries to be.
I also wonder if it's the problem where this is the albatross around its neck is it's a remake of Suspiria, and everyone's like, oh, we have another horror remake like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, like Halloween. I remember when Halloween was coming, because Halloween 2018, same year as this, right? When Halloween was coming out, everyone's like, oh god, it's gonna be fucking shit, isn't it? Because there's a long string of horror remakes that just did not work for like most of the 2010s, right? I wonder if that was just an albatross around this neck. People heard another remake, okay, I'm out, good day.
Yeah.
You know, and the only reason maybe Halloween 2018 did well was like, well, they got Jamie Lee Curtis back and it's a sequel? Okay, so it's not technically it's not a remake, it's a sequel. Okay, one of those legacy sequel things.
The story was also really well written. Well written. Sorry.
Well written.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
well written.
So I wonder if like that was a thing that stopped people from going to the box office on this.
I could see that 100%. People being like kind of extremely done with horror remakes and just like being like, yeah, I'm not trying to go down this route again. Because I hit that too. I avoided actually the Halloween remake.
A man of the people over here. Well, actually, the Halloween remake, the Rob Zombie one, would not recommend. But the Halloween Legacy sequel, it's okay. But no, I agree with you too, because I was in that same boat. I think everyone was in that same boat, like, in terms of, like, film culture was, can we just get original shit again?
If I was going back to my mindset at that time, I was actually super jaded on, like, horror in general. And I just thought, like, I thought the scene was just completely dead.
The whole horror scene dead in 2018? Yeah, I can see, like, in terms of mainstream shit, probably. Like, independent horror, I think, has always been... Independent filmmaking is more where horror likes to be, as opposed to, like, mainstream stuff for reasons here or there. But I think it's about time we talk about the critical divide on this, because the critics were fucking divided on this. Some were like, the visuals were great, and others were like, yeah, but the focusing on the setting ain't there. Critics had no idea what to make of the movie. It didn't get nominated for any Oscars, and even if it did, I don't know what it would get nominated for, if I'm being honest. Like, you know, honestly, probably like sound design. I think the sound design on this movie is actually pretty good, if I had to be honest with it. The sound of the rain going on is just always beating on the outside as they're dancing, and the sound of, like, their feet and their bodies, like, moving around, and it's hitting this wood floor, and it almost sounds like a wrestling match, right? Like, how they're moving around, it's, like, echoing through these halls. Like, I like the sound in this movie. I think the sound really is a reason to go to this movie and get your notebook out and write stuff down. It's a really good sounding movie. But, I don't know, did you guys think this deserved an Oscar run? And if so, where it's going to?
No.
Dean's being way too generous to Suspiria.
No, I don't see why. Because there are better films, but like I don't think it did, like, it's not a incredibly groundbreaking like film where like it was like when we talk about the Suspiria remake, we're not really talking about like transcending horror. Because when I think about like when we're talking about like Academy Awards and like a horror film, most of the time, like, those specific horror films usually transcend the genre. They're doing something more, and like there's just an air and aura about them, you know?
Yeah, it's like the thing where people are like, I can't believe Silence of the Lambs won. Well, it's a psychological thriller, and it's like, guys, like, no, it's a horror film. Yeah, they might have marketed it like whatever, but it's also like, guys, I think like Silence of the Lambs might be like one of the most well written scripts ever made. Like, it's kind of perfect. It's also like Get Out. Everyone was like, Get Out's gonna get nominated, and it's like it won best screenplay, and it's like, yeah, because it's low-key one of the greatest scripts written of the last 10 years. Like, it's like that thing, like, for horror movies to get the recognition, they have to be like really good. They have to like kind of be undeniable kind of thing. And maybe this movie isn't undeniable, but it's very well made. I don't think I will ever say this movie's not well made. I could give it like gripes. It's an incredibly like well shot, well acted, well directed film, even if I find it a little sluggish in parts.
I think well made's a good way to like look at it, because if I'm looking at like the acting, I believe is one of the strongest parts of the film.
I mean, Tilda Swinton is in this movie 3 times, and you didn't even know for one of them.
I didn't know about the old man until I watched like the fucking 3rd time. I was like, why the fuck does this dude look so familiar? And then the whole time,
Dylan's about to go home and start looking. He's like, wait, Tilda Swinton was Malcolm X? What the fuck?
I would be so upset. She said she believes that like actors can play like any role, and I just, oh my god.
I mean, she kind of proven it though, right?
No, I don't want to see her play black. I don't want to see her play black people, man.
She already played Bob Dylan, man. All right.
She tries to play BB King next. Outright. Like, oh my god.
Oh, man.
It says she was in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Was she the lion?
No.
She was the witch.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie, so I was like, man, I'm like, she gonna be popping up, just random, do I need to look at like family pictures and be like, who is that in the background?
She was there.
Like, how is she always there? Not just in my pictures, in everybody's pictures.
I would love for that to develop into a meme. You know how everyone's like Keanu Reeves is like an immortal vampire or whatever, and there's like paintings of like Francis Bacon looks like Keanu Reeves. I want to be like, yeah, Tilda Swinton's so good. Here's her. She's playing my mother at my 5th birthday party, and it's just Tilda Swinton superimposed in your family photos.
That would almost be creepy. My family's like, there's just a lot of black people, and just to turn around and like fucking Tilda Swinton, she's like, that's like a fucking ghost. What the fuck is this doing there?
And your mom
nobody noticed.
Your mom would be like, yeah, that's your Aunt Hillary. You didn't know that?
I had no fucking Aunt Hillary.
You do not, dude. Everyone just starts gaslighting you, being like, yeah, no, Tilda Swinton's your Aunt Hillary. You didn't know that? Everyone goes in on it.
My parents low key like started me off gaslighting me. It took me a long while to realize my parents like real age, because they were lying to me the whole time. I remember being like in my teens and being like, wait, how old are you guys? I had to like fucking get their like actual like birth dates and do math, and I was like, because they keep telling me like fucking ages, and I'm like, this isn't adding up. Something's off here.
When one of them's like, yeah, I remember when the Challenger exploded. I was in high school. You're like, wait a goddamn minute. Let me do some math. You were in high school for that? How the fuck is he born here? What the fuck?
It's just hard to keep track. My dad has like, I'm the last of like 7 too, so I'm trying to like figure out where the fuck like he had the time to do all this and go to like the military. I'm like,
dude, your dad was Amish. What do you want from me? All right,
damn. It loops back around. But yeah, I think it's a well made film. The acting is really good. I don't think at any point any of the performances like put me out of like the realm of like disbelief at all. I think the whole time, anytime somebody's performing, when Mia Goth's character is panicking, I'm there. I believe it. When Dakota Johnson's character is like really, really like giving herself to the coven, I'm there. I'm like, okay, I'm with you. Until the Swinton's characters. Oh yeah. Well, no, I'm gonna focus on the fucking Madame Blanc, not the other two. heavy makeup. But when she goes from at first being in awe of this student to being afraid, like, I don't know, these key things. Even I think the weakest link of the film is probably Chloe, and that's not like a dig at her because she had like a small part, but
she had what, a scene and a half,
but she also sets off the tone for the rest of the film because like her panic makes Olga's panic make sense, which makes Mia Goth's like panic just fucking brings it home. But that, I love the color of the film. I love the muted, like, I actually loved how they departed from like the original's kind of like super saturated look. I thought that was like a really, really cool choice. The score, I love the score. So
big Radiohead fan.
Actually, no.
I see.
I don't hate them. I just never dove into their music. But yeah. So there's that.
Becky, final thoughts on Suspiria?
I liked how different it was from the original. I thought we were gonna go like shot for shot. It was gonna be the same thing. I like how different it is. I like that we get more of a story in this movie. This movie's a lot scarier than the original, so I like being a little bit scared.
I can get behind that. I think it's one of those things where, I mean, like I said, the filmmaking on this is like on point. I would recommend giving this a watch, just like kind of giving yourself to it. I do think it's like, again, polar opposites of the original. So if you love the original, you probably won't vibe on this one. But it's one of those things where, you know, it's a little slow to me, but it's also a thing where there's, again, every 10 minutes, there's something cool happening that I'm like, okay, yeah, fuck, yeah, okay, yeah, no, this justifies, so let's keep going. But yeah, I really did dig the movie. I think it's really, really good. Would recommend. But that brings us to the end of November in this episode. What are we doing next week?
We'll have to keep them in suspense.
That's right, because what, next week is Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving, and then after that, we're on to December, so you guys will see soon enough.
Yes, but if you wanted to see or listen to episodes when they come out, where can they go?
If you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
You can go
we're all caught up now.
Yes. Sorry, I got the cue. You pointed at me and started going.
I did. I'm sorry.
She started screwing me up. But yeah, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube, because the film club was taken. You can go there and watch the video versions of this podcast, the slideshow versions of this podcast. You can like, comment, and subscribe, and follow our social media at
The Film Club Podcast on Instagram, where we post upcoming episodes, upcoming guests, and random adventures we go on.
But if you wanted to follow our guest, Dyllan, where can they go? Where can they follow you? What's your address and your social? Just drop it in the comments below.
Hell no. But you can find me at imbucinema.com. That's pretty much my production company. I'm an independent filmmaker making films with my friends, Dean included.
We made a movie together this year.
Made several, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, we've been busy, so like, I don't know. Come along for the ride. It's gonna be dope the next couple of years. So more to come.
And with that,
we'll see you next week at the Film Club.
Have a good week, everybody.
Peace.